Penistone Church, Emley, Stocksbridge Park Steel, Huddersfield Town, Barnsley, Sheffield Wednesday, Rotherham, Sheffield United. This is Saturday Morning Football and Banter, only on Penistone FM.
So a very good morning to you. 3 minutes after 9 is the time. Saturday morning, the 9th of November 2024, and it's football and banter between now and 10 o'clock. Delighted to welcome in the studio part of the management team at Penistone FM. Brett Lovell's with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Steve.
Nice to have you with us. Also, former Sheffield Wednesday legend, Leeds United legend, former England international is Carlton Palmer. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Nice to have you with us. Now, here's a guest that we've had on once before when we did our last show from Penistone Church, but Elliott Wilson, a local actor. If you're a fan of Ackley Bridge, you'll have seen him on there. If you've watched that blockbusting programme, The Stranger on Netflix, you'll have seen him on there. But fancy waking up in the morning when your best friends Sean Dooley, Richard Armitage, Jennifer Saunders, Siobhan Finneran and Anthony Head, some of the biggest actors in this country. Elliott Wilson's one of the others. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
He was an extra, by the way, no lines, but you were there and you were doing the stuff, right? So it's good stuff. And former manager of Sheffield FC, former Rotherham superstar, and now manager of Matlock Town is Ryan Cresswell. Good morning to you, Ryan.
Morning, Steve.
Nice to have you all with us. As always, we start with our local team, which is Penistone Church Football Club. Brett Lovell, the spotlight on you. Currently in third, we had Dave Hampshire in here last week. We were talking about potentially being consistently inconsistent, but a good win last weekend. I mean, it's your thoughts on the season so far?
I think you've hit nail on the head, to be honest with you, Steve. Inconsistent at times and great at others. I think that's the story of the league so far. I think if you look at the league table, I think if you finish in the top six, you'll probably lose 10-12 games this year. That's how competitive the league is. We've been disappointed at times and really happy with results we've picked up, so we can't be too downbeat. We're currently in third. And if someone had said to us, if we can maintain that through November and get to Christmas in that top six, we will be relatively happy. So yeah, things to improve on, but fairly happy where we are at the minute.
And the league as it goes, I mean, Silsden in first, Golker in second, Penistone in third. Would you say that's as teams go, that's a good representation of the teams in the league at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, you look down into them bottom three places, and you've got Goole, Winterton, and Knaresborough. And we lost at Goole, and they've only won 2 all season, and we lost at their spot. Winterton, we scraped past at home. So, you know, the league's crazy, and you know we see it every single week. We expect teams to win, and then week after week after week, teams who shouldn't win are picking up valuable results against teams at the top end of the table. So yeah, you'd expect the teams that are up there to have been up there at the start of the season. Certainly looking at that top six, you'd expect it to be as it is, but there's plenty of twists and turns to come, I'm sure.
And a long way to go, as
Absolutely,
you say.
yeah.
I mean, we talked last week about the game against Maltby Main in the Cup, which was a disappointing result. And I made reference to Steve Lenthal's post-match interview. I mean, there was a lot of emotion there. I'm guessing the same with you as well.
Yeah, completely deflated after that game, if I'm honest. It was a game too. I mean, we'd been 2-0 up against Silsden the previous Saturday, and Silsden had come top of the league. We were second. We were 2-0 up. We were flying. That difficult scoreline of 2-0. We mentioned that to the lads that 2-0 is a difficult scoreline. If they get one back, the Peckers are up, and they put us to the sword, unfortunately, and beat us 3-2. And then we had that midweek game, and of Carlton, and Ryan will tell you, if you had a difficult result, you always want that midweek game to try and get back on track. And unfortunately, we didn't take that as a positive, really, and it was a really disappointing result and performance against Maltby, and deservedly lost 2-1 at their spot.
But you did manage to turn it round last weekend. I mean, a good result, 3-0 against Bottisford. I mean, what are the dressing room discussions? That is it just the way it happens, or did you do work in training? What happens?
Well, yeah, I mean, we'd had a lot of midweek games, so October's pretty much a write-off in terms of getting people on the training ground. We have 2 contacts a week, and it's been the 2 contacts has been match games. So I think it was just about stripping it back against Bottisford, trying to relax the players. They were a bit uptight and a bit tense in the last couple of games, and wanting to get the result a little bit too much. I don't think that's a negative, but sometimes that can work as a negative for you. So we just stripped it back last Saturday and told told the lads to go out with a smile on the face, enjoy playing football. The weather conditions, the pitch were excellent last week, and just said, and we're away from us families a long time during the season, just enjoy being together and being a team, and hopefully that'll get us the points. And last week it did. It was an excellent performance for 90 minutes. So yeah, what we said last week definitely worked.
So you played 19 games so far this season. You're 2 or 3 ahead of most of the teams around you.
Yeah.
You can't afford to drop anymore if you want to stay in that part of the league, can you?
Cheers, Steve.
But it's true, isn't it? I mean, Eccleshill, will it be a tough game? I mean, every
Absolutely.
game's a tough game, isn't it? But you ready for it?
Yeah, we have to be. We said to the lads in training this week that if we looked at us fixtures November, December, we can win every game. But like I've just said, if we're not on as metal, we'll lose every game. That's how the league is. We've got some tough games coming up, but winnable games as well. So yeah, we're ready for today on the back of an excellent performance and result. Good training session midweek. So yeah, the lads will be ready and raring to go. Hopefully come 3 o'clock and we can get a result against Eccleshill and get another 3 points on the board. And
a full squad to pick from, or have you got any injuries?
We've got a full. We've had a couple of players leave. Harry Ambler's moved on, the goalkeeper, and Tom Rose has moved on this week. So as a squad has reduced. But what that brings is opportunities. If we've not got full availability, we will bring lads in from the 21s and in from the reserves. You know what our ethos is. We want to do that as a football club. We want to bring them younger players through and give them opportunities in men's football. But certainly today we've got that strong squad of 16. So yeah, we'll be ready and raring to go.
So you've had a proper career in football, haven't you? I mean, you've worked through the different leagues and you finished off your career at Penistone. But for a young lad coming through from the 8s and 21s or development squad, I mean, how much of a step up is it your first time on that pitch in men's football?
Well, it's completely different to academy football. Sat with 2 lads here who have obviously gone through professional game. The non-league sort of grounds you a little bit. You come up against players such as myself who's not frightened to boot them quicker lads and get them off the game a little bit. So, but certainly for the setup at Penistone, if you've got lads that have come through the junior ranks, I mean, we've had one young lad come through and play a bit of first team football, Noah Town, this year. He's only 16 years old, and we've watched him a couple of times in his 21 games, and he's been good enough. He's been good enough to offer that opportunity too. We had a little bit about him in terms of strength, and we thought it'd be a good opportunity to blood him in some games, and he's done excellently. And long may that continue. I think if you're good enough technically, you've got to give opportunities to these players because they'll get it elsewhere, and we want to keep these players at our club for as long as we can. And if the opportunity comes on for them to move into the professional game, then we've done our job, I feel, as a feeder club, as a non-league club. Yeah. If they don't and they stay with us for years to come and we develop them that way and they end up playing a little bit higher up the non-league pyramid, it's still good for their career. So yeah, we're certainly big believers in that, and we'll continue to give them opportunities out.
And on the professional stage, Carlton, I'll bring you on in this one. I mean, your youth career was Chelsea and West Brom, and then you hit the big time at West Brom. I mean, what was it a big step up for you to go from the youth football to men's football?
No, not really, because I was playing men's football. Like you said, I was playing for Northfield Town at the age of 13, 14. I was playing in a men's league. So, and I think that's a big difference. I had an advantage when I went into the pro game because of that, because I was used to the physical side of it. And now the players don't get that. They don't have reserve team fixtures, as it were. The youth team fixtures, if you're a good player, it doesn't stand you in good stead, to be honest with you, to go through and make it in the league. I think physically, that's the big thing about it, and mentally, if you're playing in a men's league, if you're playing in that non-league at the age of 14 and 15, physically and mentally it changes you.
Yeah. And Ryan, I mean, professionally you were at Rotherham. Where were you before that?
So I come through at Sheffield United from 14 to 20.
From the academy?
From the academy, yeah, from 14 to 20. But at 17, 18, I went to the non-leagues. I went to Ilkeston. I went to Halifax in the conference at 17. Played a lot of games, and again, like Carlton says, it stands you in good stead. I got knocked around as a centre half, got knocked around, but thoroughly enjoyed it, and then ended up paving a career in League 2, League 1, and all because of the tests, because it is a test. It's to see whether you're ready. And like you said, there's no reserve fixtures anymore. The players don't want to go to the local levels of non-league. Their agents are all saying at 17 that they should be playing in Football League football. There's something that's just not the same, and it'll only continue being like this. And then players don't end up having careers in football leagues because they can't physically handle it. And then what you find is the lads that have played 100 non-league games by the time they're 19, they're getting handpicked to go and play in these professional clubs under 23s just because they can handle it. So then it don't make sense. So you're going to have a kid from...
Is that because the clubs can't afford to take the risk if you've not had that experience, do you think?
Well, I just think you're going to have a kid from 7 to 17 and then release him because he's not physical enough and he won't go to non-league. But then you'll get a lad who's played non-league and grassroots all his life, but then played 100 games before he's 19 for a first team, and you're going to go and scout him. So what's the point in having the kids from 7 to 17?
Well, if you look at the history, look at Jamie Vardy. He's one. Kevin Keegan. We can go on for a lot of these who've been playing non-league football before they went into.
I think Ian Wright were one as well, weren't he? Wright
was one. Mark Bright was one. There's so many of them because it's in football. A lot of it is the mental side. So you see these kids now, right? I mean, as you know, as non-league managers, I've taken players as non-league managers, young kids from football clubs on loan, and they can't hack it. Yep. They've got the ability, but they haven't got the mental fortitude, and they haven't got the physicality. And so it's a major problem that's causing the game. If you look at the game itself in the whole, from the Premiership straight the way down now, how many kids are coming through from the academies? All the monies that's been spent in the academies, the only kids who are coming through now to play into the first teams are exceptional talent.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, let's go to... Well, first of all, good luck this afternoon at Eccleshill United, Brett. And we'll keep with you for the NCL Division 1. I mean, you've got the tables in front of you there. I mean, it's interesting. We talked about Athersley Rec having a good start to the season. They unfortunately lost at the weekend, so they've dropped down a couple of places. But League 1, it's an unpredictable league, isn't it, Brett?
Yeah, it's another wide open league if you look at that. I think your top three teams are the best three in the league, and I think that sort of tells a story, that league definitely. I think Aubrey, Durham and Woolwell will probably interchange between themselves for the rest of the season, if I'm being totally honest. If you think, between them they've lost 5 games between the three, and then the next team down, South Leeds, have lost 6 on their own, so I think it'll be between those three who goes up. And again, it's another good league, but it's sort of Woolwell went last week to Worsborough, and Woolwell had been looking, thinking they were going to turn them over, and they ended up scraping a 3-3 draw. So again, teams will turn up thinking games are going to be easy, and that's the downfall. There'll be teams ready and waiting who have got that energy and got that bit about them, and they'll end up getting results, and when you don't expect it. But yeah, another really competitive league.
Yeah, if you're a fan of League 1 in the NCL, by the way, the games this afternoon: Armthorpe versus Wakefield, Brigtown versus South Leeds, Durham District against Selby, Dronsfield against Nostell Miners Welfare, Grasshoughton against Maltby Main, Harrogate against Louth, Horbury against Ilkley, Swallow Nest against Athersley Rec, and we wish them all the best, and Worsborough Bridge as well against Yorkshire Amateur. We wish them all the best as well. So lots of football to go for. Of course, that's if you're not supporting Penistone Church. Good. Right, let's have a look at the Northern Premier League, and again, I'm going to stay with you here, Brett, because you're an ex-Stocksbridge Park Steel player. They're in a good place this season. I mean, they dropped down a couple of places over the weekend, but 5th at the moment. I mean, at this time of year, over the last couple of the seasons, they've been propping up the relegation area, so it's a good season so far for them.
Outstanding. I think he's done an excellent job. Him and his management team they had a shocker losing so many players pre-season, and they did. There were no question about that. Obviously, they'd had the rumour around the club that they were struggling financially as well, so they had that burden to shoulder. And he's done excellently in his recruitment. He's brought a lot of young lads in, some from higher non-league teams, some, like Carlton's just mentioned, a couple he's got brought in have hit the ground running. He's brought them in from pro clubs, and they seem to be doing the job for him, and I think he's done an excellent job. 5th in the league. I think if you'd have offered him that at the end of July, you'd have snapped your hand off, certainly. But then, knowing Richo like I do, he'll be disappointed over the last couple of games where they've dropped points. Sort of Grimsby this week, they were 1-0 up at half-time and ended up losing 2-1. I think they lost to a late penalty at Concert as well, who were down there. So he'll be disappointed with those results. What they've done, Stocksbridge, is they keep clean sheets, they're defensively sound, and that's got them the points this season. So yeah, credit to them, they're doing really, really well.
You talk about a team with no budget. Let's talk about a team that seems to have budget. It's Emley. I mean, first season in the Northern Premier League and doing really, I mean, they were top for a couple of weeks, but in second at the minute. Good season for them so far.
Yeah, brilliant. I think, again, Richard recruited excellently in the summer. He had a really good Northern Counties squad. He got a few players that were probably coming towards the end of the non-league career, so he rightly improved the squad again, and he made some really good signings and key signings. And again, in another competitive league, they're doing excellently. They're handily placed. Again, they've had a couple of disappointing results recently. I think they lost at home. I'm saying they're a disappointing result. They lost at home 3-0 to Cleethorpes, and they're absolutely flying. So, but yeah, again, another local side, and it's really good, really, to see two teams in the Northern Premier League doing excellently. So,
and then we look at the bottom of the table, and let's just bring Ryan in here. I mean, you were manager of Sheffield FC for the last couple of seasons. I mean, you were brought in as a recovery manager, and you did your job done. You kept them in the league, and then second season mid-table, and it's 22nd place at the moment. I mean, you've moved on now, but was it a tough start to the season for you?
Yeah, I think we had some really good wins. But the wins were in the FA Cup, the FA Trophy. Obviously, they don't count on what you're seeing on the paper here. Now, they've gone on a really bad run. I mean, I think I've missed their last 11 games. I haven't been there for their last 11 games, should I say. And I think they've had one win, and then all the rest have been defeats, I think, looking at it from that. Yes, they're not blessed with the greatest budget, but neither is Richo at Stocksbridge. Yeah. And what you got to do is you just got to find a way to win. And I think I did take that job initially to keep him in the league, and then the two following seasons, I think we finished 9th and 11th, which really were overachieving. Yeah. I'm not going to beat around the bush. That's what we did. And then this year, it just looks like it's caught up with him. Ville's gone in there now, who's got a lot of experience at that level, and I think that he'll bring some new players in. I think they need a couple of strikers ASAP, because I know both the strikers are out with long-term injuries. So yeah, there's work to be done for sure there. But it's a good club inside. It's just they're just not blessed with the budgets of your Cleethorpes and your Emleys and your Belpers and your North Ferribys, and you can go down the list, but.
It's a strange thing, isn't it? Because as the oldest football club in the world, you would think that there would be people queuing up to invest in a club. I mean, there's a lot going on with Sheffield FC at the moment, isn't there? New ground, museum, all that sort of carry on, and yet they're struggling financially. It sounds a bit strange.
Well, I don't think they're struggling financially. I just don't think that the playing budget is their main objective. I honestly don't. Looking at it, they've got the new ground, which would be fantastic to get them back in Sheffield, and great for the community and up and coming kids that want to be a part of a sports centre. But ultimately, you've got to look after your first team, and they need some serious help. And looking at it and speaking to people, I think that they're going to have an injection into helping the squad, which I'm happy about. I mean, I wish I'd have had it when I was there, but ultimately, listen, I've moved on, and I wish them all the best. They give me my stepping stone in management, and I'm forever grateful for that.
And a quick mention for Jamie Yates, who stood in when you moved on. I mean, he had a go, didn't he? And basically put his hands up and said, it's not my bag, sort of thing. And I mean, wish him well, because you've got to love a trier, haven't you? I mean, at least he stood up and had a go.
No, absolutely. Listen, I love Yatesy to bits, and he made the decision to stay at Sheffield. So I wish it went better for him. I truly do. But I know how hard that job is. I know what it entails, and I know what you've got to do. And Carlton will know this. Being a non-league manager, it's not just.
It's difficult because, like, I can say it now because I'm out of it. These guys can't say it, right? Because they have to get on with their job.
Yeah.
They've got the supporters. They've got the chairman. Listen, if we forget non-league, start in the Premier League, Championship, First Division, Second Division. By and large, most teams finish where their budget allows. That's a fact. There's no argument with that. Sometimes you can get a bit lucky that in non-league you can bring in a group of players and get a bit a look that they catch fire and you do well. But by and large, it boils down to budget. Simple as that. And it's very difficult for. It's not just in non-league. I've had it in the league. You know, Mansfield Town, when I was manager there, the budget was the lowest in the league. You can't come out and the manager and say, right, you know, the fans are looking for because they got into the playoffs the following season, they want to get in the playoffs again. You can't come out as a manager and say, do you know what, this season, if we do well to stay up, right, you know, you get murdered. I mean, it's a bit like Danny Roll this season with Sheffield Wednesday. He's done a fantastic job to get them out of the mire that they were in last season. To get them out of that situation was unbelievable. So everybody looks at, oh, well, at back end of the season, the points tally they got would have put them in the playoffs. That's unrealistic. If you look at West Ham, the back end of the season, Crystal Palace, people always pick up results because teams will take their foot off the gas. If Danny Roll is not in a position this season where they're getting relegated and they finish just below mid-table in the season, he's done a fantastic job. But it's really hard as a manager because when you've got your budget, there is nothing you can do. And within that budget is where you're going to be. Now, if you can get young players through and you can give them time to work with these young players and bring them through, then of course you can see some success without having a bigger budget. But other than that, it's like Wayne Rooney at Plymouth. I hear it every week. If he gets a good result, everybody's going, has he turned the corner? If they got a bad result, should they sack him? At the end of the day, Plymouth got the worst budget in the league. If he keeps him in the division come the end of the season, judge him then. If he keeps him in the league, he's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, it's interesting. You could talk about it all day, really. It's fascinating stuff. The games that are taking place in the Northern Premier League East Division, Stocksbridge Park Steel away at Carlton Town, Sheffield FC away at Consett, which is a good game for them. I mean, it's two bottom-end clubs, so there's a chance that Vill gets his first victory on his first game. I mean, the cards stack up for him, right?
He's got a good opportunity, and hopefully he goes and gets 3 points because that club needs to get away from where they are.
Definitely. And then Emily at home to Garforth Town, a bit of a local derby there, so good luck to the three of them. Let's hope that things turn a corner for Sheffield FC, because everything that's going on at the moment, they don't deserve to be where they are. Right, we'll talk professional football in a moment. We'll start with League One. There was a little bit of a South Yorkshire derby last night, which was a bit of a damp squid at the end of the day, but anyway, we'll talk about that after this.
Penistone Church, Emley, Stocksbridge Park Steel, Huddersfield Town, Barnsley, Sheffield Wednesday, Rotherham, Sheffield United. This is Saturday morning football and banter, only on Penistone FM.
Right, good morning to you. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. It's 9:28. Time flicking away very quickly this morning. In my studio guests this morning, it's Brett Lovell, Carlton Palmer, Elliott Wilson and Ryan Cresswell. We're talking now about league football, EFL League One, and we start with a game that took place last night. I'm going to come to you first of all, Elliott, if you just want to move the microphone a little bit. I mean, obviously we sat and watched this game, finished Barnsley 2, Rotherham 0. Your thoughts on this game?
Barnsley better team for the 90 minutes of the two, but I think both the goals came down to goalkeeping mistakes. So it's poor for, as a Rotherham fan, you'd be disappointed because they weren't in the game 100%. But
yeah, you're right.
When the first goal's from the corner, and that should never be a corner. Your goalkeeper in a professional level should not be spilling that out for a corner. So
we talked earlier about Penistone Church and the consistently inconsistent thing. I mean, you could say that about Barnsley, couldn't you? Because Huddersfield Town, as you are a Huddersfield Town fan, they played them twice in a week, beat them twice in a week, and you'd think that they were a no-hope team, really. But and then they turn it around and they're in the playoffs now. So
yeah, it's weird. It's weird looking at the league table, to be honest, because I've been to a lot of games this season. I've been to the Bolton Stadium and watched that, and they were a poor team and they're up there. Barnsley seen twice and they're up there. We've lost to Rotherham and they're down low. So watching the game and then seeing how they're doing in the league, it's just two different things. It just seems to be, everyone seems to have a good week and a bad week every week. It's hard to tell, really.
Good. I can't ask for a prediction. It's already happened. But I mean, your thoughts on that?
2-0.
2-0.
2-0 Barnsley.
I think you have a chance there.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to the game last night, but with my mates, as you know, I'm a Rotherham fan, and just disappointed. Disappointed with the performance. You're right. Disappointed with the goalkeeping errors. I think the second goal is. I'd be going mad this afternoon, and this guy's playing in League One at Barnsley in front of the Yorkshire derby. I'm sure he'll own up to it. He'll take accountability for it, which is fair enough. But Rotherham are in that stage at the minute where there's a lot of enthusiasm around the club early season that is just slowly fading away at the minute, with whether it's how the team's setting up. And listen, fans are fickle, we know that, but Rotherham fans want to see an identity to their team, and at the minute they're not seeing one. But they're 14th in the league, and if they put a string together, they could be right up in the playoff mix. And Steve Evans is historically really good second half of the season with his teams. So let's just ride through this rough patch and see how we finish.
I mean, he came in as a saving grace, didn't he? But will people be starting to get a bit disappointed with his performances, do you think?
I think he came in to take all the attention off how bad the team were. I think that's what the chairman did at the time. I think he came in and everyone thought that, well, that's it, we're guaranteed some successful glory days now. They still got relegated, they still didn't really win many games.
And they brought a lot of players in, but with a very low budget. They didn't spend much, did they?
They very rarely do spend much, but I think his budget is a competing budget for that level in League One. I think that he has an opportunity, and I think he'll get it right. I think he will. And I've seen it before with him. The second half of the season, his teams go on a run, and that's where his success has come from in the past. Now, people are saying, yeah, well, he hasn't been successful for 10 years. The guy's still been successful. Yeah. He's got promotions on his CV. Yeah. He's won things. So you don't win things by chance, but Carlton, again, you do win things with budget. And he has got a decent budget for League One. Let's not think that he hasn't. But they need to turn some corner and sharpish, because last night were poor and the fans did turn out in the numbers again, and I thought they were quite quiet, and that's not a usual Rotherham fan.
We've always said on this show, over the few years that we've been doing it, is that Rotherham are a good First Division team and shouldn't really expect any more. I mean, Carlton, your thoughts on the game first of all, but are they performing as people should expect them to do, and have they overachieved in the past?
I think they've overachieved with Warney and Richie Barker. I think they've done a fantastic job. And do you know what? It's amazing. I always say, be careful what you wish for, and you don't really realise what you had. Paul Warne did a fantastic job at Rotherham, and he had to move on because they're never going to have the money to kick on. They're always going to be a yo-yo team. If they manage to get up to the Championship, they're going to come back down. I'm not a big fan of Steve Evans. I know he's been a very successful manager, and he has. His record says that. I'm not. I think the days of managing the way that Steve does are going. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's me personally. So at that level, if you want to get, he comes out, he criticises the players publicly. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with that. If you've got an issue with your player, you keep it within the four walls.
He did it the first week of the season, didn't
he? He did. And I, like I said, I'm not a fan of him when I manage teams that come up against him. And he is very successful. There's no argument to him, but no argument about that. But you don't have to like him personally. His job is to, the chairman brought him in because they've had a relationship before, and he brought him in, and I agree that it was done to quieten the supporters down and give them optimism. But it comes back down to the budget. He has been able to spend money, but it's always going to be difficult for them. But in the position they are, they've lost 3 in the last 6. But if they win 3 in the next 6, they'll be back in a playoff spot. That's how it is. And
like Elliott said, they beat Huddersfield Town, and then they performed like they did yesterday against Barnsley. So it's again inconsistent, isn't it, with performances?
Yeah, and I think the year that they went up in his first promotion, they were very similar in League 2 outside the playoffs, and I think they had to win the last 6 to go up automatically, and they won the last 6. So don't write them off. But
wasn't that the Paul Warne effect though that did that? And do you think that when Paul Warne left, they carried on doing what they were doing for a certain period of time, and then the cracks started showing, and then they started underperforming?
Warne papered over some cracks at that football club. 100%. Like, he didn't get enough praise from the fans because he were there for so long, and it just went a little bit stale, and it just went, and he did need to move on. Like, but you're right. Be careful what you wish for, because Warney back at Rotherham would be unbelievable. It genuinely would, and a lot of fans will think, why are you saying that? But it would, because his enthusiasm. He wouldn't slate the players in an interview, and he leads by example. And what I mean by that is he puts a shift in every single day, so none of his team can cut corners. Now I'm looking at it now and I'm going, it's not the same effect. It's not the same driving force that's driving that club forward as what Paul Warne did for 6-7 years.
And players stayed at that football club who could have gone on, right? And they stayed for Paul Warne. As soon as Paul Warne went, you've seen the centre forward went to Sheffield Wednesday. You know, the players left the football club because they stayed, because they bought into what Paul Warne and Richie Barker was doing, and they enjoyed it. And that's a big part of playing football. Enjoyed it. You know, as I said, at this moment in time, I'd be very, very surprised if Rotherham get into the playoffs. You know, everywhere that Steve Evans has been, he's always had a big budget. Yep. So everybody talks about the success he's had, right? He's done it on a big budget. If you don't like Neil Warnock, you can't argue with the fact that when he's done in management, in getting promotions, he's done it on everywhere he's been without a budget.
Yeah.
So that's a different ball game.
Yeah. So how important is it then for a football team to have an infectious manager that's almost pulls you in and believes that? Because I would say Penistone Church, they've got a similar sort of thing with your management team. You've created a bond with your players, haven't you?
You have to, I think. We don't pay the money to keep them at Club Fop money, so it's got to be. I've just mentioned about I've just mentioned about you spend a lot of time together, and even in non-league you do. You're seeing each other 3, 4, 5 times a week sometimes, and you've got to have that bond. You've got to have that bond with your players. Completely echo what Carlton's saying. You know, if your lads are not doing well, you don't chuck them under the bus. You know, it's an in-house thing. You know, and it's a collective failure. You know, when we played Maltby last week and we got a disappointing result, we could have quite easily come out and said a few home truths. We don't. We collectively take it on chain, and then we'll speak about it independently to players who have not necessarily performed. But it's all in-house.
Yeah,
and you get something back from that. You get something back for being, you know, not too high with highs and not too down with lows. And, you know, I like to be a friend as well as a manager, really. And, you know, there is players that have different things outside of football that they struggle with. So it's having a conscious feeling about how people are doing with home life and work life. So it's not all about football, and you get some respect back for players just by asking them if they're all right sometimes, and you certainly notice when people's demeanour's changed, and I think that's vitally important, just being a friendly face and sometimes not taking things too serious.
Yeah. I haven't asked you your thoughts on the game though, Brett. I mean, did you watch the game last night?
I did, and I can only echo what these two have said, and obviously Elliott, I think they were. I mean, I thought Rotherham will go there and get a really good account of themselves. I just thought they've been a lot impressed with Steve Evans over the last, 7 to 10 days. He'd come out, he'd been quite strong with a couple of reporters, trying to back his own corner, which is fine. And I thought they might have turned a corner last night, and I thought it were as bad as I've seen them, to be fair. And then Barnsley on the flip side, you've just quite rightly said, they're quietly going about the business, aren't they? And they keep ticking these results off. I agree. I mean, I agree with Carlton, to be honest with you. I think if the Rotherham keep performing like they are, I don't know how long Steve Evans, I know his relationship with the chairman's good, but I don't know how long he'll have left. If they make a change, will they make a late dash for playoffs later on? Is it too early to make a change now? I don't know, but I'd be surprised if they're in that top 6 based on the performances what I've seen.
Right, so time will tell. Let's find out. But anyway, Barnsley 2, Rotherham 0. It was last night, of course. A little bit of a damp squid as far as a local derby goes. But anyway, it is what it is, and that's one over. By the way, did you copyright that "it is what it is" saying? Because I've noticed one of the telephone manufacturers have started using it in their advertising campaign.
Do you know what? Right, listen, that it is what it is. Do you know how it come about? I didn't realise this. We're on holiday in the Maldives, and I was doing the book at the time, and we sat down with my wife Lucy and a friend, and they said that's what you always say. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm one of these people. I don't look back. If something's happened it is what it is. It's happened. Let's move on. Don't look back. And so that's how it all came about, and that's why the book was named It Is What It Is.
Still selling well?
Still doing very well, yeah.
And available at all the outlets. If you're looking for a Christmas present, it might be a good idea. But anyway, Carlton Palmer's bestseller, It Is What It Is, available in the shops now. Right, Huddersfield Town are in action this afternoon. I'm going to come to you first, Ryan, on this. They had a shocking defeat last Friday against Tamworth. I was lucky enough to be there, or unlucky enough to be there, depending how you look at it. Really, Huddersfield Town didn't turn up. They've got a lot to prove this afternoon.
They need a reaction, and I think it's a really good opportunity against a struggling Crawley Town team to get a reaction. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 Town win.
Michael Duffus said he's never been as embarrassed since he left school about the result of that game, and they were literally booed off. Everybody, the management team and the players, were booed off the pitch, rightly so. If ever there was a situation where one team wanted it and another team didn't, that was definitely it. I mean, Elliott Wilson, you are a Huddersfield Town fan. Your thoughts on this one, and a prediction, please.
Well, I think there's going to have to be a fight back today, because it is embarrassing. I mean, you were watching the game the other day, in the players, they can say it's the pitch, they can say it's this, they can say it's that, but at the end of the day, you're playing a non-league football team as a League One team with a lot of Championship players in it, and to lose the way they did as well, the long throw, every 5 minutes having a long throw, and in the end they got the goal, so that they just need to fight back. So, well,
the referee got the goal, let's be clear about it. I mean, the referee scored this goal, right? He pulled it into the net, didn't he?
Well,
he did. I was there. He just scooped it into the net, and had they left it alone, it wouldn't have counted.
He is clutching at straws.
Yeah.
Well done, Tamworth.
I think it's hard, right? You what's your priority? Your priority is to get them promoted.
Yeah.
He's gone into a football club that's been struggling.
Yeah.
You've then got relegated,
yeah.
So he's had to move things around in a quite late period before the start of the league. His priority is to get promotion, right? And I believe he'll get them there. He'll get them into the playoffs, right? So it is a disappointing result, but things like that do happen. I mean, if you watch the game, I think Tamworth were the better side, but they only lose the game because of goalkeeping error.
Correct.
You know, and that's what happens. I've been there in cup football when you go to lower league teams, right? And it's very, very close to how many times teams go out there, because they're going to raise their game. The pitch is not great, of course. The dressing room's not great, and it's easy to say, listen, there's a lot of players who play in non-league who could actually play in the league. There's a lot of players who can do that, and they choose not to because they've got a full-time job, so they earn money in a full-time job and get paid good money part-time. The money that's been paid now at Step 4, Step 5, for training twice a week and playing on a Saturday, right? When I was manager of Grantham Town, I won't mention names of clubs, but players were ending up with probably £2,000, and these are the clubs that are going out the league. So you're getting £2,000 playing on a Thursday and Friday, training on a Monday and Wednesday and playing on a Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So there are some good players at non-league level. So, yeah, it's a disappointing result, but the bottom line is Huddersfield need to get out this league this season, right? And people have to focus on the full picture, because Huddersfield have been in freefall for the last couple of seasons.
And the chairman has made no secret about wanting to go for promotion. And I think when we said that there only one club wanted that game on last Friday, I think it's because they want to concentrate on the league. But they went into that game five games unbeaten, Huddersfield Town, so it's not like they were on a bad run or anything like that. But a prediction for the game, Elliott?
I think there's going to be a big bounce back today. I have to say 4-0.
To Huddersfield Town?
Huddersfield, yeah.
Wow. Ryan, your thoughts?
I've already said 2-0 Town, yeah.
Have we been to you already?
Yeah.
Oh, I do apologise about that. Been a long morning. Brett, your thoughts?
Well, there certainly needs to be a reaction. I mean, based on obviously last week's performance, it is hard, and I don't think supporters quite grasp it sometimes when you play against these non-league sides, how difficult it is to get a result at times. And they certainly do raise the game. I think from an Huddersfield Town supporter point of view, you're looking at that FA Cup, aren't you, and thinking, let's get through these first two rounds and let's get a decent draw at home, and that sort of gets the supporters back on side. You know, if you get a Chelsea, Spurs, Man City, Man United at home at it sort of raises the team, it raises expectations, and it's good for everybody. But that said, they'll want to get promoted and get back in the Championship. no better game than what they've got today, a club that's really struggling. So I'm going to go for Huddersfield 3-1.
I remember when I was at Leeds United, just quickly, and this is where you have to get the mindset. We drew Rotherham in the FA Cup, and Howard Wilkinson knew that it was a tricky game because Rotherham were going well in the league, and he knew it was a tricky game. We didn't. We changed at Ellen Road, so we came in our strips at Ellen Road. We went in the dressing room and straight out on the pitch. Played the game, straight in the bus and home. So we never got into that mindset of going to a lower league club, going in the dressing room, looking and saying, well, this isn't Ellen Road, isn't what. No, mindset was to focus, get the job done and get out. And that's what Howard did, because he knew that and you see it all the time. I've been there with players when you go to lower league clubs and you go there and you walk in there and you see the facilities, all of a sudden it's down. They're going to raise their game. So Howard took all of that out of the equation.
Yeah, that's your philosophy as well, isn't it, Brett? Focus on the game.
100%.
Not the fans.
No, blank the fans out. 100%. Yeah, you know that, Steve.
He blanked you out.
I do know that. Yeah. Right. So we've got a prediction for the game. Did you give one, Carlton?
No, I haven't. Huddersfield will win comfortably today.
Comfortably. I hope they do. Let's just hope they do that. I mean, they're not far out. It's interesting because Barnsley were slightly below them last night, and now they're in the playoffs in 4th position. Huddersfield in 8th, in 22 points. It's going to be a busy afternoon of football, isn't it? Let's just hope they get those 3 points on the board. Right, we've got a big game in the Championship tomorrow afternoon, Sheffield United versus Sheffield Wednesday. We will talk about it after this.
Penistone Church, Emley, Stocksbridge Park Steel, Huddersfield Town, Barnsley, Sheffield Wednesday, Rotherham, Sheffield United. This is Saturday Morning Football and Banter, only on Penistone FM.
Yes, good morning to you. Welcome. It's 9:51 Saturday morning, the 9th of November 2024. There is a big game in town tomorrow. It's a Sheffield derby, and it's Sheffield United hosting Sheffield Wednesday. There will be a right atmosphere at Bramall Lane. In the studio with me this morning, Brett Lovell, Carlton Palmer, Elliott Wilson and Ryan Cresswell. I'm going to come to a former Sheffield Wednesday player first of all. Carlton Palmer, your thoughts on this game?
It's Sheffield United will win today, and it pains me to say that because I'm Sheffield Wednesday through and through, but you've got to take emotion out of that. Like I said, if Sheffield Wednesday stay up this season comfortably, which I believe they will do, below half table, middle half of the table, then they've had a very, very good season. Sheffield United are about getting promotion and getting back. Chris Wilder's done a fantastic job at the club, considering all the problems he's had.
Yep.
He needs to get some support in terms of bringing players in. He hasn't got a bench. He's got a young bench. I mean, I think tomorrow they're missing Kiefer Moore, which is a massive blow for them. I know some Sheffield United fans are not keen on Kiefer Moore, but they've got it absolutely wrong. You know, Kiefer Moore is a magnificent hold-up player, so it's not always about his goals. It's bringing other people in. He defends well in his own box. He attacks the ball well in the opponent's box. He's a very, very good player. I just, if it was at Hillsborough, I'd have given him a chance because of the support.
Well, I was going to ask that.
Yeah, I'd have given
quite intimidating there, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have given him the chance because of the magnificent support there. But I can't make a case for them in this game today. They're on a really good run. I mean, don't get me wrong, Sheffield Wednesday are on a decent run. But 3 wins on the trot for Chris Wilder's side. If they turn up tomorrow, I think they'll win the game comfortably, unfortunately.
And the result? Score prediction?
I think maybe 2 or 3-0 to Sheffield United.
Ooh, right.
No, they're in. If you look at them, they're in a different level to Sheffield Wednesday. A really big level. You know, I'm not looking at Sheffield Wednesday for the playoffs or for the automatic promotion. We are looking at Sheffield United to be in 1 or 2 spots this season. It's different levels.
So off tack just a little bit. If Sheffield United get promoted again, what's different next season to the previous seasons when they can't survive in the Premier League? I mean, are they just going to be a yo-yo club, or do you think?
Look at the teams now who've got promoted this season.
Yeah.
Southampton, Leicester.
Yeah.
Right. The problem is, right, it's the money. It's the void. In the Championship now, and I can speak about it now because it doesn't matter, right? In the Championship now, players are commanding £40,000 and £50,000 a week. So let's not talk about it. So you get promoted now, you're going to need better players to play in the Premier League. You've then got players who've got you promoted. You can't then go and bring one or two players in on £100,000 a week with those players who've got you promoted. So it's one of those where you look at developing the football club, build the training grounds, do whatever, yo-yo club, and go again. Same as West Bromwich Albion. It's very, very difficult now to compete when you get promoted from the Championship to the Premier League. It's a gulf. It's a really big gulf. Like I've said to you, I believe a non-league player. I mean, who's the lad that went from Notts County to Millwall, and he's come all the way from the centre forward from Notts County. I forget his name now. He's come all the way through the leagues, and he's doing really well in the Championship now. But what you can't do is go from the Championship to the Premier League as an ordinary player. It doesn't work.
Yeah, big gap. Right, Ryan, your thoughts on this one?
My thoughts are that if Sheffield United turn up, it's job done. That's what I think. Just because I think that the gap between both clubs is big. In terms of Carlton's right, Sheffield Wednesday need to survive, and their aim is to survive this season, and that's a successful season if they do. Sheffield United is to be exactly where they are. That's their target. That's their goal. So I think if Sheffield United turn up and they do the job, and they don't play the occasion in which the fans will be high rate, they'll be up for this. The atmosphere will be electric at Bramall Lane. I've got a 3-1 United win. I think that Wednesday they'll make a game of it, but I just think that the class will shine through in the end with Sheffield United.
Very good. Times against us, Elliott. Your thoughts on this one?
It's just one of them. We've been talking about teams being inconsistent, but then you've got teams like Sheffield United, Sunderland, Leeds and Burnley, and they're just not inconsistent. They are some of the most consistent teams. Their squad level is so much higher than the other teams that the other teams don't really stand a chance. All of them on two losses this season, so I'd say it's going to be a comfortable Sheffield United win.
Forecast for the result?
In my mind I'm thinking 1-0, but it'll probably be 2 or 3.
Right, very good. And Brett, finally on you?
Yeah, I think exactly what everybody said. I think if United turn up, they win the game. And the only thing that concerns me as a Sheffield United fan is the amount of players that's played in a derby before of this magnitude. So I'm interested to see how they perform in a massive game like this. Sheffield Wednesday have got a few lads that's still in that changing room that have been there and done it in a derby match, and it's a ferocious Sheffield derby. So I'm interested to see how the players cope with that. But I agree with what everybody else has said. I think if United turn up, and even if Wednesday are on the game, I think the better side is United, and I think they win 2-0.
Very good. So it's a clear win that Sheffield United are going to win this game. Let's see what happens on the day, because it's a derby match at the end of the day, isn't it? And anything can happen. But anyway, the prediction here is that Sheffield United will win. If you missed any of this programme, by the way, you'll find it on Twitter and Facebook later on. Do have a listen. Some interesting stuff. But for now, gentlemen, thank you very much for the time. Carlton Palmer, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Elliott Wilson, thank you.
Thanks.
Brett Lovell, good luck this afternoon.
Thanks very much, Steve.
And likewise, Ryan, good luck this afternoon.
Thanks, Steve.